regional and remote WA has a very different profile from a regional New South Wales or Queensland, or for the fact Victoria as well. And there are very different variations in terms of service delivery models, rather than the compliance what they have to deliver. How does these workshops undertake, or the understanding from the Commission point of view, to differentiate between Perth or metro regions and regions to remote and rural WA?
So we had a session yesterday which was online. I think there were about 90 people on that, and that was represented rural and remote service delivery from across the country. So all jurisdictions were there.
Lovely.
And talking about what was happening from their point of view. But again, we got very similar themes. So I'm not saying there weren't some differences, but that the kind of things we're picking up, which is actually really helpful, because it allows us to then target what we're going to do and be as responsive as we can.
And as one of the bigger aims of the Commission is to make sure that quality of service is not compromised in any way or form, and all the NDIS providers are delivering services which will not lead to any form of neglect, harm or abuse. And there's a fine balance between how the compliance, how heavy it would be versus to make sure that there is no neglect, there is no harm, there is no abuse. So what's the fine balance between the two? And is there an evidence coming out from the last so many years of Commission, a few years of Commission being active, that yes, this amount of compliance has impacted into positive outcomes, that we have reduced rate of harm, reduced rate of neglect and reduced rate of abuse?
So I think the framing of that is quite difficult to answer.
Okay.
And the reason for that is we didn't have a very good snapshot before the Commission started. So
there's no baseline.
There's no baseline. And in fact, there's some stats at the moment. The one by the end of March, our complaints had increased by something like more than 40% in comparison to last year. So that is actually a good thing. That means participants have confidence to be able to come to the Commission and share when something isn't right, when something does go wrong. Similarly with workers doing the same thing. So we do want to see that indicator around complaints continue to rise for a little while yet.
And then as we mature.
And then as everyone matures and, the ecosystem that is the NDIS, as we find, a more balanced approach, we'll be able to then look at what do we want to do in terms of those improvements.
Okay.
That's not to say there's not some other real benefits that we're already seeing. So we know, for example, that the number of compliance actions we've taken this financial year through to the end of March in comparison to last financial year have increased tenfold. Now, that's not necessarily a sign of things getting any worse or necessarily things getting much better. But what it is a really helpful sign of is that people are starting to understand what the regulation's here to do, because we're taking the majority of those actions, that tenfold increase, has been about education. And that's the space we want to be in, because that will lift quality for people. So we want to be engaging with providers in that education space, in that engagement space, so that we do understand what good looks like and